1. The instinct of immortality and the illusion of nothingness. My friends, let us begin by piercing the veil of our deepest anxieties. Why is it that across all ages, the human spirit recoils with instinctive horror at the idea of nothingness? It is because the void is a lie. There is no such thing as nothingness. This inner voice that speaks to you of a life beyond the grave is not a product of imagination, but a memory, a profound intuition the soul retains from its state prior to incarnation. To believe in a God of supreme intelligence without accepting a future life would be nonsense. For what purpose would there be in surviving the body if our moral essence were to be dissolved into an ocean of the infinite, indistinguishable, and lost? Such a loss of individuality would be synonymous with annihilation. Even the skeptic, who parades a bold pride during life, finds this arrogance vanishing at the fatal instant of death. For the hard-hearted there is doubt, for the guilty fear, but for the good there is radiant hope. 2. The divine economy, law, not caprice. We must dismantle the archaic image of God as a micromanager of punishment. Does God personally pronounce sentence on every glutton? No. God has established immutable laws that regulate the universe. Maladies and death are the natural consequences of excess. We are the artisans of our own future. Consider the parable of the father and the son. A father gives his son instruction, tools, and a field to cultivate. He says, "If you follow my rules, your harvest will be abundant, ensuring repose in your old age. If you neglect them, you will die of hunger." The father leaves the son free to act. If the son fails, is the father to blame? No. But God is even more provident than this father, for God offers us the recourse of new lives, reincarnation, to repair the errors of the harvest we ruined. 3. The nature of future joys, action, and altruism. What then is the texture of this future life? It is not material, for the soul is not matter. Thus, its joys and sorrows are 1,000 times more vivid than those on earth, as they are no longer dulled by the density of the flesh. Discard the monotonous notion of an eternity spent merely singing praises, a dull, selfish, and useless existence. The happiness of the pure spirits is dynamic. It consists of knowing all things and comprehending the mysteries of creation. Their supreme joy is found in the love that unites them and in the occupation of assisting the progress of other spirits. It is a life of solidarity where jealousy and ambition are unknown, and where the bond of affinity creates a holy unity that selfishness can never disturb. 4. The anatomy of suffering, the mental fire. Conversely, the sufferings of the imperfect spirits are as varied as their passions. There are no physical furnaces, for the soul cannot burn. The fire is a figure of speech for moral agony. The torture of the lower spirits stems from coveting what they cannot possess. The miser sees gold he cannot hold. The debauchee witnesses orgies he cannot join. The haughty see honors they are denied. They see happiness yet are unable to attain it. For the guilty, the most relentless punishment is the absence of secrecy. In the spirit world, hypocrisy is unmasked. They are condemned to the perpetual sight of their victims, whose presence becomes an incessant reproach. They are like a hiker on a hill, viewing the vast distance they must still travel to reach the destination of peace. And because they cannot see the end of their trials, they believe their suffering to be eternal. A belief that is, in itself, a torment. 5. The myth of eternal damnation. Here we must address the monstrous doctrine of eternal punishment. Would a logical mind accept that a king that is described as benevolent and indulgent, yet would punish 3/4 of his subjects with everlasting torture for a momentary offense? How could God be less just than a human being? The word eternal in the sacred texts is a relative term used metaphorically to designate a long duration of which the end is not foreseen. As the spirit of Plato tells us, eternal punishment corresponds only to the duration of the evil. As long as the spirit remains evil, the punishment remains. But no being is created for evil. The Apostle Paul reminds us that the objective of punishment is rehabilitation. To make punishment infinite for a finite fault would be to deprive it of its reason to exist. The only thing truly eternal is God. If evil were eternal, God would cease to be the supreme power. 6. The mechanism of redemption. Repentance is not enough. How does one escape this suffering? Through the 3 steps: repentance, expiation, and reparation. Repentance often occurs in the spirit state, sparking the desire for a new incarnation to purify the self. But repentance alone is sterile if it does not lead to action. We cannot buy salvation through posthumous donations. Giving away what we can no longer use is the height of selfishness. A single act of painful sacrifice for another cleanses the soul more deeply than a lifetime of selfish suffering. Evil can only be atoned for by means of the good. Your future happiness is mathematically proportional to the good you have done. Your unhappiness is proportional to the evil. 7. Demystifying the resurrection and geography of the afterlife. We must also purify our understanding of the resurrection of the flesh. Science has demonstrated its material impossibility. The body is composed of oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, and carbon, elements that disperse at the death to form new bodies. The molecule of carbon in your body today may have belonged to a human of an earlier. How then could these bodies be reconstituted? The true resurrection is reincarnation. The dogma of the final judgment hides a beautiful truth. The soul undergoes a judgment of its own making and returns to the flesh to execute the sentence and advance. Furthermore, cease looking for heaven above the clouds or hell in the bowels of the earth. The universe is infinite. There is no up or down. Heaven is universal space, where perfected spirits traverse the stars and highly evolved worlds. Hell is not a place, but a state of the soul, a life of cruel trials and uncertainty. Purgatory is here. It is the physical and mental suffering of the corporeal life where we expiate our past. We carry our heaven and our hell within us. 8. Conclusion. The future of our world. Finally, let us look to the destiny of this planet. Christ said, "My kingdom is not of this world, for he reigns only where love and goodness rule. But the kingdom of the good will come to earth. The transformation is at hand. The earth will be inherited by the good when they outnumber the wicked, the obstinate spirits of evil. Those who refuse to progress will be excluded from this world. They will be exiled to younger, ruder worlds to learn the hard lessons of labor, a true paradise lost for them. Therefore, do not tremble at ancient fables of fire and brimstone. which serve only to frighten children and breed atheism in adults. Instead, weep, hope, and work. A good father does not banish his children forever. He comes to find them. Go forth with the certainty that you are the architects of your own eternity. Cultivate your field with the tools of justice and love, and your harvest shall be everlasting light.